Hey everybody, PugGaming here. I'm back again collaborating with Paradox Interactive to bring to you some hints, tips and a bit more detail about the amazing mod Procedural Objects. But before we do that, let's talk directly to the mastermind behind this mod. Let's speak to Simon.
Hi, I'm Simon. I'm a 17-year-old music student living in Brittany, France, who loves creation in general and in particular programming for city skylines. I started playing CS pretty early. In fact, I had to buy a new computer in order to run the game, and to be honest, that's the best investment I've made so far. I had watched a few preview videos and I immediately knew this was going to be one of my favorite games. I got into modding early as well, thanks to my experience with modding for Kerbal Space Program, which uses the same game engine as City Skylines, called Unity. Yet it was kind of difficult to know what I really wanted to create for City Skylines, with such a great creators community that had already made lots of great things for the game. So I experimented a bit with assets and mods when finally I found the idea for Procedural Objects. The initial idea behind PO was to be able to create procedurally generated objects that could be pre-programmed. Back then, I was especially thinking about intricate builds like overpass walls, or things that are hard to make because of terrain constraints, such as fields. It quickly turned out to be a bad way of introducing procedural generation into the game, so instead I thought of integrating a kind of 3D editor into City Skylines. At this point, I had watched countless videos of YouTubers who detailed their builds a lot, and I had always found it unfortunate that they were always frustrated not being able to make the assets fit their desires, and this was the solution to their needs.
What an amazing insight. Thank you for that, Simon. Now let's jump straight into the actual mod itself. Let's have a look at how and what you see when you first subscribe to it. So first of all, as usual, jump onto the workshop, click on subscribe and then make sure you load up the game in Content Manager and make sure the mod is enabled. So once it's subscribed, you'll see in the bottom right hand corner Procedural Objects tab will be there. Next we need to select an item, and I would use Find It mod to do this. Once you've found one, you need to click on it and you'll notice the bottom right hand corner now says Convert into PO. Click on that and this item now is under the control of PO and we can have some fun. Before clicking to place, you can move the item around with the mouse and also raise it up and down using the page up and page down button on your keyboard. Once an item is placed, you can click on Procedural Objects button again and you'll see a little plus sign. Click on this and it brings up a menu of that particular procedural object you're working on. We have Edit, we have Move To, Copy, Set Layers, Align Height and Delete. Now we're going to leave the Edit section just for now and jump into the next one, which is Move To. Click on this allows you to repeat the process of when you first clicked on the item. It regains its original settings and you can now move and place this item to wherever you want. Copying an item is very easy too. Click on Copy from the menu and then press Ctrl V on your keyboard to paste the item down. You can also press H to copy the same height as the original item that you were copying from, which will be great for aligning those heights. Now let's move on to the layers. If you go back to the main menu, you can click on the layers at the bottom left hand corner. Once you've clicked on it, you can now create a layer, so name it something that relates to what you're going to have in that layer. So here we're going to put down building and then let's put down van. Now that these two are added, you can now singly click on each of the procedural objects using the cross icon and set layer to which one you want that to be stored in. Once this is done, you can go back to the main layer menu, and once you click on that, you'll now see there is an icon that pops up with each of your labels with an eye. Clicking on the eye on and off will mean that that item in that particular layer build will disappear and then come back once you re-click on it. Set layer is something that isn't that often used, so let's hear from Simon on what is so great about layers.
The layers are especially useful if you are working on multiple heights with POs. Hiding the top parts of your build will allow you to see more clearly what you are doing underneath.
As you can see here on screen, the demonstration of removing the building allows me to be able to place down this flooring a lot easier than it would be if that building was in the way. Obviously the camera angle can only see so much, so being able to remove an actual procedural object itself makes life far easier. Now let's move on to align heights. The way to do this is click on the item you want to have aligned, and then click on Align Height and click on the other procedural object that you want to align the height to. Another useful thing is the use of the export feature. To do so, highlight over procedural objects and click on the export button. Once this is done, you can click back on saved objects and you'll see a list of all the recent ones you have made. Click on place and you can place this onto your game, and even possible to export, as Simon explains.
Exporting objects will save them in a special file and allow you to place the objects in any game save, or even share it with friends or on the workshop.
If, however, you're not happy with what you've just built, or you make a mistake, you can delete the procedural object by doing so on the menu here. Now we're going to move into the edit mode that we mentioned earlier. Now this is where things get really interesting. Clicking on the edit mode opens up a new panel, the customizational tool panel. If we click on general tool, we have a few options to go through. First of all, we have position. Position mode is able to be done by the click and drag of the 3D axis gizmo, or you can use the arrow keys to go left, right, up and down. Page up and page down moves the object up and down. If you hold Alt, it will slow the keys down, and Shift to have a continuous movement instead of incremental. The scale mode can only be used with 2 keys. Using page up and page down will allow you to scale the object up or down. And finally, the rotational button. This is the mode that has no 3D access gizmo, and every movement has to be done with the keyboard. Use the arrow keys to rotate the object left, right, forward and backwards, page up and page down to rotate the object up or down. And just like position mode, you can also hold the Alt key to slow down the keys, and Shift to do the continuous rotation instead of incremental. But that's not all, as Simon explains.
A cool feature of the general tool is to be able to change when the object is shown, either always, day only or night only. This allows you to create different sceneries at nighttime, for example fences in front of shops.
It is here also that you can change the render distance. The higher the render distance, the more likely you can see the object from far away. You can also change the default settings in the main menu as shown on screen here. So that brings us to the end of this part 1 episode on procedural objects. Next week we will be working on some more advanced techniques on how to really fulfill the most out of PO. We'll be joined again by Simon. He'll be inputting some very useful information and also some exciting news on the future of procedural objects. It's certainly not something to be missed, so please make sure you have subscribed to the channel for more videos just like this one. Until then, enjoy these beautiful cinematics by some other amazing PO creators, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and all the best.